everybody. We are here today with my friend and fellow astrologer, Chris. Say hey. And we are going to be talking today about echoes through history. I think that's probably a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Two events that seemingly are unconnected, but actually might have some kind of connection. We're going to be talking about the storming of the Bastille and the storming on the US Capitol, or the storming of the US Capitol. And you're the one that came to me with this. It's bringing this up that we should talk about this. I know that you're interested in politics and that kind of thing. I am too. um so yeah, should we is there anything you want to start out with saying?
Yeah, just a little background. I've been doing this work for quite a number of years, and I just wanted to say that this event, when it happened in 2021, had a weird echo in my head that said, "This has happened before. Where?" And then I realized it was Bastille. So when I started looking at it, it was like within the same week that it had happened to the Capitol. So I put the connection together pretty quickly, but it's one of those things that you can't really understand how those echoes come up until you look at the charts. And that's why we're looking at the charts today.
And you actually, I'll throw this out there, you actually have a blog post about this
Right.
on your website, astrologic.ca. Wanted to make sure I got that part right, the last part, the CA part.
Yeah, Starlogic is one word, .ca. Yeah, I've used that as my basis for all my writing in the last 10 years.
Yes. Yeah, you've got quite the catalog of stuff. You
Right.
do. It's all very cool.
Okay.
What chart do you want to look at first?
Well, the real hint to me is that if you actually go to the historical one first, you can see the energies that were applied that day, and note that that is the way these things get imprinted on us without us even understanding it, because it happened so long ago, nobody cares anymore. In fact, it has everything to do with today as well. So that's all we're going to say about that for the minute,
So you want me to start with the Bastille?
please.
And also, just for everybody watching this, I'm losing my voice. So if I sound weird, that's what's going on.
Right.
Just want to apologize for that. Okay, so I'm gonna make this bigger. That's not the right one. Let me get to the right one. Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Okay. So just a really quick summation of this from Wikipedia. Essentially, the storming of the Bastille happened on July 14th of 1789 in Paris at 1:30 p.m. This was when revolutionary insurgents attempted to storm and seize control of the medieval armory, fortress, and political prison known as the Bastille. This fighting went on for 4 hours, and there were 94 deaths. And after the insurgents were able to enter, and this is considered the flashpoint of the French Revolution.
Right. So that's actually the verbal key is revolution.
Mhm.
Um, there's most of the time we have things, and you can see it in this chart. In the ninth house, we have the Sun, Mercury, Uranus, Venus, and Jupiter, all vying for attention, if you like.
Yeah.
And Uranus is always the revolutionary um, uh, impetus, if you like, to spark stuff.
Yes.
But it isn't that actually caused it. It's just that that's how it evolved. And we have it supported in a trine, especially the Mercury, Sun, and part of Fortune. We have it in a trine with Saturn and the North Node. So this is saying this is an imprint on history, but it also says, look at this as a future event as well. This is a hint towards that.
Like we're not done yet, kind of thing.
Like we're not done. It might be a different place, a different time, and a different country, but it's the same energy as a start of a revolution. So that's the point we're going to take from this. Ninth house is the house of, we'll call it higher education.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's meant to show us stuff that we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to get to. And in doing so, it might bring up all kinds of things from other points. But the one thing that I noticed about this is that Neptune plays a role in it on the square, and
Yeah.
it's in the 12th house. And when I originally wrote about this a week after the storming of the Capitol, I actually noted the fact that the misinformation may be the reason that it happened.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that that is opposite to the moon, which would have moved on a little bit from this particular event to be more closely opposed to Neptune, means that it's emotional for people. And population is actually impinged upon, we'll call it, for want of a better term. And it's because it's sixth house, it's always an interesting, we got to do something about this because we don't want anything else taking us down and hurting us anymore. So I'm just focusing on all those things, but that trine originally is really what made me stand up and take notice.
And even, the misinformation thing that you were talking about, here with the Neptune,
Yeah.
too, it's trying that Pluto. So there's like power given to it.
Yeah. And notice it also goes over to Chiron,
Yes, it does.
which I find always interesting because that wounded healer, it it makes us examine stuff that we don't want to do that.
It does. It
So
does. Yes.
anyway, but Mars is in the 8th house, and there's another thing, and that's why a lot of people died that day.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I would
And it might be significant later, so we'll just hold that in abeyance.
agree. Yes. And it's also the ruler of that moon, which kind of um seems like it amplifies what you were saying about the moon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go on to the capital because it'll show us something interesting as well.
Okay. Okay. This is the chart for the storming of the Capitol. On January 6th of 2021 at 2:07 p.m., the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. I have a quick, this is more recent, but I can throw out the little quick thing that I wrote from Wikipedia too, if I should I? Yeah. Essentially, a mob of MAGA Trump supporters were involved in a self coup d'etat, wanted to keep Trump in power by occupying the Capitol and preventing a joint session of Congress from counting the Electoral College votes to formalize Biden's victory. As a right,
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah. Okay.
No, this is where it gets weird.
That Mars you were talking about is like, and the
Now,
other.
you'll see it later.
Yeah.
When it comes to there. But it's the Capricorn Aquarius joining together. That's like changing of the age.
Yeah.
And we talk about the age of Aquarius all the time, but those energies are pretty powerful.
Abs-
And note that there are four of those five um, lights, we'll call them, are, are actually in the ninth house again.
Yeah.
And that to me was the strange echo. That was the first echo that I got. Like, why are we doing this again? And Pluto's there this time, which might be the clue as to why it happened to us now rather than maybe 150 years ago.
Yeah.
These things could have happened any time, but this one is particularly worrisome because the moon is now opposite.
It is. It's where that, yeah.
So we've got another echo of a different kind, but that actually is the basis of T-squares to most of those planets.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So, and at the same time, you see another uh, connection between South Node, North Node, and Neptune again. And that's where I thought, oh, more misinformation. You know, the fact that there's story of a lie being told in public to get the people upset.
Yeah, we've got it this time squaring.
Yeah. And I, you know, because we have people who actually poo-poo all this stuff because they don't believe that anything like, and I have a friend who said this to me, what, we're affected by rocks in space? You know, it's much more than that. It's much more than that. And sometimes when we look at these things as astrologers, we see trends and concerns. There's
Pattern.
your um, and in this case, it could be the sun in conjunct the North Node, and that's like a history waiting to play out. And it hasn't played out totally. So that's the warning sign that we're saying ahead of time, it might not be done yet. So
Yes.
next.
Next, you want to go on to the next one?
Yeah, because I think this is where it's going to show to something different completely. Now, on your program and not on mine, there were what I would call a bunch of red lines going from the ninth house planets in the capital
Mhm.
to the ninth house planets in the Bastille. But now, based upon the storming of the capital, they're in the third house and sometimes the second house. So that the very fact that we have those being opposed to each other, almost perfectly opposite, is more than weird. It's more than weird. And now you can look at Mars from the Bastille. It's on the ascendant.
Yes. Which feels like
They,
like a continue. It feels another, yeah.
yeah. Well, whatever it is, it's actually got something to do with whatever the pain of what happened in 1789 um, came forward as a north node for this event because of Chiron and the north node. It's
Yes. Yeah. Mhm. I
and
agree.
those are opposite um, the capital's Venus, which is love,
Yes.
uh, and love of truth, which is like that's another weird thing that is showing here. It's the love of truth is being stormed that day.
Well, it could be reflected on, the people that did this, right?
Hmm.
They felt like they feel like they're seeking for that or that you know what I mean? Like I think in the way that they think they're thinking that.
Yeah. But if you now look, the moon it's conjunct Neptune.
Yes.
And that was again my way of saying, okay, this is something else going on, because if Neptune was opposite to the moon in the first instance, now it is turned into, shall we say, an echo of emotion.
An echo of emotion. And really, like, here with that moon in Libra, and Libra energy being, wanting to balance, but can also be incredibly imbalanced.
Yeah. And in this case, it upset everything.
Yeah.
Like, lives were threatened, and there was no way that this would pass as just a protest,
Yeah.
because that's what it's wanted to be presented as. It's not. It's far more than that. They actually intended harm,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's a worry.
I worry. I laugh because it's like, this, we were talking about this like through email and a little while. I mean, this is not, there are reasons to perhaps be concerned that that energy of the storming of the Capitol, right, could be continued on.
Yeah. That there may be an echo coming later. We're hoping it's not this time round, but it could be. Or it could have something to do with after the election, when everything should be calmed down, and there will still be some people fighting. So I have not specifically done a chart to do that, to actually look at that, but it is something that we as astrologers will continue to look at, because we don't want to leave this as, oh, this is all in the past. Oh, no, it's not. Everything comes around again eventually.
Because there are cycles, and yes, they do definitely come around again.
Yeah. And the other thing to note here is that Saturn, from the storming of the Bastille, is now within conjunction of Neptune in the
Yes. Yes, and that that was something that stood when you approached me with this. That's something that stood out to me, that, like,
Yeah, because you mentioned the fact that there's going to be upcoming in 2026 a lot of connections between these two planets.
yes, the exactitude between them is the exact thing. I think it's like February 20th of 2026, but we start seeing it come very close together in July, August of 2025.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, I'm also, yeah.
Yeah, I hear your hesitation there. The whole point of Neptune is it's like a smokescreen. It's always, it clouds the issue. It becomes Neptunian in the sense that it doesn't show you the picture very clearly. It's like through a glass darkly. And Saturn, being the government,
Mhm. Yeah.
means that there could be issues, especially all through 2025 and early 2026. There could be issues with how people are viewing whoever's in control. They may not like what they see. They may be told all kinds of nasty things, and we're being told nasty things even before either one of them's elected. So it's it's going to be a continuation of that kind of, I'm sorry to say the word bullshit,
Oh, no,
but there's bullshit.
yeah. Yeah. And the Neptune and Saturn, you could like dissolving, right? Dissolving of, like,
Wa-
authority, dissolving.
Water, water and earth.
Yeah. Yes.
It's mud.
Mud. Dissolving of structure, things like that.
Yes.
And, here in the US, there are things that perhaps do need to be dissolved, but it's like, what actually ends up getting dissolved here?
Yeah. it has to be very tightly controlled. And that's where Jupiter's strength is, but Neptune just erodes that totally.
Yeah, it does.
And if people lose faith in their government, whatever that government is, that's when problems occur. That's why there was a French Revolution, and even why, going back to 1776, why the Americas decided not to have a king anymore. So it's funny because the one that is in contention right now wants to be king, even though he doesn't call it that. But
Well, you might as well.
yeah, above the law, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, we're not going to prolong this because we don't want people to get bored. But the idea that we should be keeping an eye out, live your life, as you said, live
Yeah.
your life, continue on, don't fret, but be aware. And as you're being aware, always remember that whatever we're trying to achieve in life, this may be the future that's coming that is more hopeful in the end. And we just got to go through the shit first. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really think there is any way, nor should you go around things, right? I think a lot of time you just have to go through them. And I think this is kind of a case of that. I really think, the US has done a lot of that trying to go around
yeah,
things.
kind
And
of.
yeah, and not and I kind of feel like we're at a point here where it's going to be really hard to do that. And it's just, and I mean, we're already there, but I think it's going to become very real for a lot more people, even that we can't keep doing this shit. We've got to,
Yeah, you got to bite the bullet, as they say.
yeah, yeah.
So anyway, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you for wanting to do this because this really is very interesting. Just the connection, between the two events. And do you have any like other than, just going through it and don't be scared, live your life, be aware.
Yeah, that's a lot of good advice, but of course we have skirted over the issue of the inciters of the riots. Um, Marquis de Sade in the past, Donald J. Trump in the present. Think about that, people. Think about that, and realize that even the players are interchangeable in the end because the universe says, yeah, you didn't quite get it the first time, so let's try it now.
So the energy comes back around.
Yeah, and we have to live our lives. We don't have a choice. If we die, we're out of the game. We're completely gone until another time. But that other time is discussion of reincarnation. We never go away. It's just that we disappear for a while. And it's the same. Even if your worst enemy gets killed, mm, he'll come back.
Yeah,
So
I feel like in my I think people that believe in this know what that feels like to kind of have somebody come back around and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. All
we're
right.
gonna do this again.
Yeah.
But in fact, that's our truth point. That's where we're going to learn our lessons better each time. And that's why I said all that ninth house stuff in both the French Revolution and the recent problems at the Capitol. It's to teach us that you better be careful what you ask for. You might get it.
For higher understanding, higher
Yeah.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a joke. It's not a game. It's real, but it's also survivable.
It is.
All of survivable. It doesn't matter who's in control. Our daily lives may get worse, but they'll not be worse than being dead. So,
Yeah.
okay. I love doing this with you.
Loved it too. Thank you for wanting to. Thank you for approaching with the idea.
We'll have more things to discuss at another time, but especially about reincarnation.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to pick and choose our subject matters very carefully because, you know, not everyone wants to know about that stuff, but it's very, very interesting. And you've noted before, the North and South nodes are a clue as to what's going on.
Absolutely. Yes, they are a huge clue.
Huge.
How appropriate.
I know. I should have done it with a U, but it's actually with a Y.
Well, Chris, where can everybody find you? I know we mentioned it before, but
Yeah, very simply, if you just Google starlogic.ca, no caps, just all lowercase, you'll find my blog page and everything is posted on there. I have about 4,250 posts on there.
yeah, it goes back to April of 2014.
Yes.
So it's, yeah.
And I've written before there. I have a book out. It's in it actually shows the beginnings of all this work, which is at this point in time, it's even on Amazon. Um, at this point in time, actually reflects events in history, but not comparing them to anything else. Just each chapter has its own ethos and discussion. And I just see it as it's being a way of showing the humanness in history, how each of those events has its own personality. And I've also written another book, but it's only on starlogic.ca, and that's the Star of Bethlehem, and it's about the astrology of Jesus' birth chart, believe it or not.
That's cool. You want me to link these in the description box?
No, you don't have to. If people have listened to this long, they'll find it.
Okay.
It's my trust. I have no expectations.
I generally feel like that's a good way to go in
Yeah.
life.
It solves it solves a lot of anxiety, that's for sure.
Does. It's, it's very hard to do, but it does.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll go ahead and head off, but thank you so much for doing this.
I'm glad to do it. And
And
I like your stuff.
thank you. I like your stuff too. And to everybody else watching this, I will see you later.
Bye bye.